Hey everybody, it's Matt Johnson. We're back with another episode of Real Estate Uncensored. This is the place where you get actionable ideas, insight, and inspiration to turn your real estate career into a life of freedom. We have an amazing, awesome guest with us today. We're going to talk about positive persuasion. We're going to talk about overcoming fear. At the top of the show, we'll talk a little bit about DISC personality profiles and how you can quickly verify what type of personality profile someone is, so you know who you're dealing with and how to communicate with them. And we'll bring our guest in a second. In the meantime, fresh off of what I assume is a relaxing weekend because he's about to get firing out of the gate as usual. This is Greg McDaniel, the junior grandmaster himself, is in the co-pilot seat. As always, Greg, how are you today?
Orale vato! Yeah, it was a good weekend. I was rested and relaxed. I wasn't feeling that good on Friday, so I really kind of took it easy, pumped the brakes, got a lot of sleep in, so I'm feeling really good. But I escaped the horrors of an awards show. Oh, so tiny. But I was able to get out of there, and we did take an award home. This is freaking pathetic, got 20th out of our company. That is such bullshit. But we're still in the top 5%. But our award's not that big, so I'm not that happy. Not a while. You know what? But this is our second time we were trying to get our guest onto our show. First time we had technical issues, but she has pinpointed Matt and I in like 3 sentences. She's like, I know exactly what your issue is. I know exactly what your issue is. Matt and I are like, oh shit, she's good. So Debra, welcome. Let's have me stop talking and you start talking.
Well, I have to stop laughing first, okay, Greg, Matt?
Okay.
So we like to hear.
From what we covered the first 5 minutes.
I know. We were having fun before we even jumped on and started broadcasting live. So,
yeah.
So you're a licensed psychotherapist. You're also a speaker. You do a ton of stuff. And we could really only scratch the surface of your experience, but also the client work and the speaking and all the stuff that you do. But give people kind of a brief overview of who you are, what your what your typical daily work is, and where you're based at.
Very good. Thanks so much, Matt. Basically, I have a passion for working with people to help them get unstuck in the ways that they get stuck, and really helping them uncover sort of those emotional pain points that we've all grown up with and that have all come from our backgrounds that tend to flourish in our adulthood, that sort of, actually keep us living, keep us from accomplishing our goals. And so I do that through training, coaching, also consultation, as well as assessments and my speaking, of course. You've already mentioned that. I'm actually located in Coronado. We're having quite a rainy day today.
I know. It's very sad.
I know, it's even though it's raining. But yeah, so I'm down in the southern part of California and loving where I live.
Yeah. And I've got a quick question for you. What would you say is the difference between, you mentioned consulting, right? I'm curious just what your opinion is on the difference between coaching and consulting, because a lot of people get those confused, or they would like to get into coaching as long as coaching means they can just deliver content and not actually have to get their hands messy with helping people change, if that makes sense. So what do you consider the difference between those?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, actually, and one that comes up frequently. I would say coaching, is more of a one-on-one kind of process where there usually is some kind of problem area or challenge that someone wants to try to redirect or refocus on. And so it's really a strategy building approach. And it's really, the coach is really there to help guide the person on where they want to go. They sort of uncover the answers themselves through the coaching process. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, consulting, on the other hand, I would usually be called in as a subject matter expert, where an organization or a team or business partners.
Mm-hmm.
Are you thinking something there? Business partners? Pregnant pause. That's right. You're like, you two idiots.
Like, me and Greg just celebrated our 2-year work anniversary. I got him some flowers. He was very specific about it. I got him some flowers, and we're all good.
God, that's awkward.
So as a consultant, then I actually was just talking with some business partners at the end of last week, and they do have a problem. They've had some very disruptive outbreaks of behavior between 2 of the 3 partners, and it's really starting to impact how they're functioning. It's rippling down through their small organization, and so basically, I'm coming up with some ideas for how the 3 of them can work together. And what kinds of interventions might be necessary. So as a consultant, I come a little bit more problem solution focused. Whereas with
Yeah,
the
and actually
coach,
telling
I'm
them
more,
what the solution is, or or at least how to work through it, rather than trying to help them kind of come up with it as if it was their own idea.
yeah, yeah. So again, drawing upon my subject matter expertise.
Mhm.
We're going
Yeah,
to keep
that
you on
makes sense.
speed dial. Matt and I are
Yeah.
formed another company with a third partner, so we're just going to keep you on speed dial. Is that cool?
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing, Greg. You read my mind. All right. So, Deborah, let's give some people some really practical, tactical tips here real quick before we dive into some of the bigger concepts. But so we mentioned the DISC personality profile, which you are an expert at and have worked with for many years. So I'm curious, just when you're out there meeting people, whether it's networking events or maybe you're interacting with a potential client for the first time, what are some rules of thumb that you can give people for how they can kind of very quickly just get a rough idea, am I dealing with a high D or am I dealing with a high SC or whatever the case is? How do you quickly identify and start putting people into boxes so you know a little bit better how to communicate with them in the way that they'd like to be communicated with?
Sure, yeah. So often when we go to a networking event, we're really quick to introduce ourselves and say what we do, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I imagine a lot of us aren't even really focused on what is the other person really saying because we're
Right.
trying to sell ourselves, right? But really, the more effective way and really a more sustainable way of networking and meeting people is to really, when you engage yourself, really get them to be talking more about who they are and what they do. And so that's the first thing. Make it less about you and more about the other person.
Mm-hmm.
Give them the center of your attention. Uh, and then from there, it's real important to have you prepared some open-ended questions. And I say open-ended because those are the kind of questions that help people sort of talk on whatever they want to talk with your focus. And so if you're familiar with the DISC, the D is more what focused, the I is more who focused, whereas the C or the S is more how focused, and the C is more creative focused. And so, or why. And so, by asking questions that are, or what is it that you like best about your job? How do you like to get your work done? What if this problem could be solved for you? So those are kinds of questions that I might ask, but those are the questions. There are a lot of other nonverbal things that I begin to look at, like their pace of speech. If they're a talker, then I'm going to anticipate they're more extroverted. If they're slower paced, then they're probably more introverted. And by getting them to talk about what they do and what they like about their work, what brings them satisfaction, you get to know a lot about people. When you agree, the two of you, in our first 5 minutes, I asked just a couple of questions and I got a whole lot of information.
Yes, you did. And what you're talking about right now is something that we've talked about and that we use as a script, a backbone of a script called, FORD, family, occupation, recreation, and dreams, or you can do FROG, which you change the D to a G, which is goals. And then you just continually pepper the other person with questions, making them the subject, like you were saying, the subject of the attention, so that they will feel good about themselves. Ultimately, they'll come back and ask what you do. Then you can talk about you, but you shift the attention onto the other individual. A lot, and you're right. So many people just like when you go out on a bad date and that asshole just all they talk about me, my, I. You're like, shut up. I'm important too, damn it. But
Yes.
but it is true. I mean, that's the people get, I think, nervous, and correct me if I'm wrong, Doc, on the fact that when they get nervous, they talk about themselves because they try to build themselves up. So the other person will want to find them in the cool factor, the cool kid club, and they want to be around them. But in reality, you're really doing the opposite. I mean, people are just like, oh, God, this is such a narcissistic fool. Why do I want to be around this person? They haven't asked anything about me yet.
Yeah, that is really irritating, but I think one of the most useful things I've ever come across, Deborah, is what you said about the what, who, how, and why, and how that breaks down in terms of just, listening to what somebody says and then just saying, okay, that fits it. That's very factual, right? So you figure, okay, well, that person's either a high D or a high C. Then the question is it ideas, is it concepts, or is it facts, right? So one of the things that I like the most about, and Greg mentioned our business partner on something, Aaron Wittenstein. So we're building something together, and so we're doing some trainings and things with him, and he would point out that one of the things he does is he asks somebody about their home. Like, hey, tell me about your home. and then he listens to the way that they respond. So he asked me this, he asked me to role play with him, and of course, what do? Well, it's a 3-bed, 2-bath, it's like 1,500 square feet. Like I did not even, just even me role playing, I didn't even think about it. I wasn't talking about even a real place. I was just going purely hypothetical and role playing with him, but I role played as myself. And it was a high D, right? So you immediately focus on and the rate of speed, like you can pick up from the rate of speed that I'm a high D. And it's just interesting that if you can figure out, or if you can just commit to memory just those little boxes to kind of quickly put people in, it really, really helps. And then paying attention to somebody's rate of speed and mirror and matching them helps them feel like you're in rapport with them, even if it's not natural for you. Slowing down or speeding up to accommodate them will help them feel more comfortable and open up to you because you're agreeing with their mode of communication, which is interesting.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of the things that I like to do, you mentioned networking, is actually to arrive early, because then you can watch the people as they come in, and you can even begin to pick up on things from their body language and their mannerisms. And so when
when Greg shoulder rolls, or he opens the western doors of the bar or whatever and comes strolling in, yeah.
No, I was thinking about something much less like that. Well, not quite that. I mean, I want to understand how people could do that for open houses. How could you identify the different personality types right when people come to open houses? Are they timid? Are they bold? Are they inquisitive? Or are they, I don't know what else to say. I mean, what are some of the body, the body aspects or traits or physical, how they hold themselves? I mean, what can people look for, how to talk to that person so they can be relevant to that other individual?
Okay, actually, excellent question. And again, these are some generalities, so I want to make sure that people understand that these are things to look for clues in terms of figuring out who people are. Is it going to be true every time? I can't say that, but first of all, it starts in the eyes. Okay, and so if people, again, the more extroverted tend to make direct eye contact and very quickly, and whereas the more introverted may not, and may not be as assertive in their body language as they enter in. And so again, that's where going to someone with a warm welcome and engaging them is really important. So always look at the eyes, and then also look at how assertively they enter a room.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Well, the eyes are the windows to the soul, so that does make a lot of sense. That's where you'd want to start, and then go from there. So, what would be a good next step to? Let's just engage with just pick one of the personality types. Let's go with an S. How would you want to engage with an S?
Again, both the S and the C, by the way, tend to be more one-on-one kind of people, and so this is where having that one-on-one conversation, they do less well in large groups. And so anytime you have a big group of people, then it'd be important to, provide opportunities for smaller group interaction or one-on-one interaction. And so like when I do a training, for example, or facilitate a meeting, I actually employ one-on-one, a small group, and then large group activities so that people have a chance to engage differently with different people. And so by engaging in someone, again, by asking your 3 types of questions or 4 types of questions according to the what, the who, the why, and the how, and you can gauge better than their responses. And so then that's where you want to engage in more what if kinds of questions. Well, what would it be like if you had your dream? Get them to be thinking about the future and drawing out their ideas.
What if questions? I like it.
Really I really like that a lot.
Yeah, and we've got a couple of questions. So there was a question here about from Robert Cox. Where can I get more info on this high C or D placement for clients? At least for now, you can get a free disc assessment on Tony Robbins' website. So you literally just Google Tony Robbins disc, because not only along with your assessment, you get back this amazing report that goes into all the 4 types and breaks down not only what you are and how you can better communicate, but it just gives a really good overview of all 4 types and what they are. So that's where I would start. Debra, is there any particular book that you would recommend that's been either influential on you or that might be good for beginners to kind of get into the disc? I mean, I got into it just by talking to the people that have pioneered it, like Dr. Michael Abelson and people like that. So I actually don't know of a book right offhand that I would recommend either. Is there something that comes to mind for you?
Gosh, not right off the top of my head either, because there are a number of different assessments like the DISC. I think the DISC is the most powerful.
Mm-hmm.
What I will share with you, though, that from my way of thinking and lots of other people, it's not just understanding communication styles. This is a huge foundational piece, though. But really the next step that we really want to take a look at is our overall emotional intelligence. Because emotional intelligence starts with self-awareness, which is what the DISC provides you. It also gets into self-management. Okay, now that I know this, how do I manage myself to come across most effectively? And then other awareness. And again, that's where the DISC comes back in to help you understand, okay, now that I know I'm a I, for example, and you're a D, now what do I need to do to communicate and engage with you effectively? And so knowing these traits that come along with the assessment then are really valuable in how you now, the fourth part of emotional intelligence is your relationship management. Now, how do I maintain this relationship and let it grow? And so again, understanding, because each style does have their own underlying fears, their own underlying reactions to stress, what's important to them at the end of the day, and so on. And so again, body language, verbal language, there are characteristics and traits that go with each of those. But going back to emotional intelligence, what I will share with people, I wish I could claim it was my book, but it's not. Bradbury and Travis have written a really excellent book called Emotional Intelligence 2.0. And they have taken Daniel Goleman's work, the father of emotional intelligence, which is very complex and academic oriented, and really have simplified it for the lay reader.
Great.
What I really like about what I like about that book is I think you can probably get it for Amazon for like $15-$20, but at the back of the book there's actually a promo coupon that will then allow you to go online and take their emotional intelligence assessment. And the reason I really want to emphasize this with you, because, you talked about real estate being, a way to, enhance your lifestyle. It's now proven through years of research that for every point at EI or EQ that you can raise your emotional intelligence, that you can stand to earn so many $1,000s more per year.
Yeah.
And so that becomes really important. And we also know that the more emotional intelligence you have, the higher and faster you will move up in your career or organization, wherever you might be working, because you are aware and in tune not only with yourself, but others, and know how to relate to them. So the DISC assessment along with an EI assessment are really a powerful package.
Yeah, it's incredible. I didn't get a chance to tell you this, Greg, but I got off the line earlier today with Chris Voss, the guy that wrote Never Split the Difference that you've been listening to, is the one of the FBI's international hostage negotiators.
Yeah.
So we're bringing him on the show, hopefully end of March, early April. But anyway, we had a great conversation. I asked him, how do you, hostage situations don't come up every day. So how do you get the practice in to get good at something like that? He says, honestly, it's about building your emotional intelligence through your everyday interactions where people are not role playing. They're just being themselves. And it's building your overall emotional intelligence. And then you apply it, that the strength that you build in paying more attention to your interactions in your daily life, then you bring that with you into these interactions where there's stressful negotiation experiences, and the reps that you've built up in the gym of life carry over into the negotiation, which I thought was really interesting. I would have figured it would have been something like, super difficult role-playing scenarios, and you're going back and forth with somebody mimicking, a hostage taker and making it super more difficult than it is in real life, and just building reps that way. He says they actually did very little role-playing or scenario training. Which is really interesting. So it's all about emotional intelligence. It goes back to that.
Yeah, it is. And actually, when we bring them on, you talked about the fact, and Doc, I want to get your opinion on this, is that instead you can take all the, the highfalutin, super intelligent individuals who come out with all these different scripts and techniques and styles and timings and everything else, but you go back to the rudimentary basics of life, and you go after, people's feelings and go after what they're thinking and what they're feeling. And he said that he was able to just destroy people in a good way, in a discussion, in a negotiation, because he tapped into something that was true to them. So for what we're talking about, if we tap into something that's true to an emotional side of us or the other individual, then they're more apt to open up to you and tell you things you probably would never be able to get from them if you try to go after them with strategic, tactics and, verbiage and everything else, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Because for many of us, especially if we've been successful and educated, we're smart intellectually, right? We're intelligent up here in our frontal cortex. But even though we know stuff, unless we really practice with how to apply it, it doesn't really settle in emotionally. Okay, so it's like you almost can feel your brain, thinking you're saying something up here, but it's really in the back of our brain or the center of our brain that's more the emotional intelligence or the emotional piece. And so, neuroscientists have proven that we have sort of three brains, so to speak. Our basic brain center, back at the base of our head, the cerebellum, that is autonomic, it keeps everything going. And then we have that limbic brain, the emotional reactive brain. And then, later we develop our the prefrontal cortex, which is, as humans, we're the only ones that have that brain. And so I like to say it all ties to our drive to survive. What we see and what we hear actually activate the back of our brain before it gets to the top of our brain where it makes sense. And so, and that's where, when we talk about overcoming fear, if we be aware of, what does fear feel like for me? Where do I experience it in my body as well as in my head? And because for some of us, it might be that pit of the stomach. Others might be, that rapid heartbeat or shallow breathing. Those are the physiological signs of fear or being panicked. Then it's the emotional brain. And again, it's in that deep center. And oftentimes when people are very emotional or fearful, their heads feel really heavy on the inside. And that's where the neurons are firing like crazy, like fireworks, and interfering with our ability to be more cognitive, which is up here. Yeah. So I have a saying that I like to use. And so first of all, be in the moment. Just sort of sit there and just reflect on what's going on for me without judging or, criticizing yourself. Just what am I feeling, physiologically? And where could that be? And then the other tip I like to share is think back to when you felt that before, because with some guided work, then you can actually take that back and almost, identify the origins of that fear feeling and how that's actually become an emotional pattern to our adult behavior. Then think through the moment. Yeah, think through the moment. So be in the moment and then think through the moment. What would it be like if I actually was successful in that sale? What would it be like if I actually won that customer over or was able to make that customer get that perfect house? And use that. That's where the power of persuasion, comes into play, is that we can shift how we feel both mentally and physiologically by shifting the direction of our thoughts. Nothing new there, but oftentimes we don't apply it.
Yeah,
we're horrible at
that. we really, really are. There's a technique that I use, a meditation technique that I put into action anywhere at any time. It's like you're saying, it's called the Sedona method. And what you do is at first you just metaphysically everything, like you experience what you're experiencing, right? And then you just ask yourself three simple little questions. You can do them like this. It doesn't matter if you answer yes or no. You're going to release that negative energy. You're going to be able to understand more about yourself and why you feel that way. And it's like, the first one is I do alphabetically. It's really easy. Could I release it? Next one would be, would I release it? And then the final question is very simple. It's when. And you can say yes or no to either one of these. No matter what, you will release some of that negative energy. So like you're saying, if you're afraid of going against Matt for the listing appointment, you're like, oh my God, Matt's the #1 listing agent. I'm never going to be able to do it. But then you allow yourself to be okay with that. Then you release that negative energy out of your system. Then it won't be there. It won't be clogging up what you got going on. It's I really think that's a very powerful thing, but so many people don't do it. They get petrified by the fear, by the thought, by the potential that's not real. Not real. Fear is not real. It's only what we make it. So if we allow it to control us, then we won't get that sale. We won't get that date. We won't get that whatever we were looking for in life because we physically stop ourselves from doing it. And I just wish people would get it through their freaking thick craniums that they could change anything that they want and they can get the business that they want. But they're just too fucking stupid to pick it up.
Well, I want to make sure that people can connect with you before, and then I want to dive into some of that. But Debra, where can people go to connect with you and just keep in touch and learn more about you before we dive into more of that?
Okay, sure. One, I do have a website, and we're in the process of updating it with some great new stuff, and there'll be more about the disc there as well. But my website is www.relationships-at-work.com. And I'm also on LinkedIn as well as Facebook, and so be happy to, and Twitter. So in any which way of those, please feel free to reach out to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's Dr. Debra Dupree. So that's the easiest way to find you across the social media platforms. So, yeah, well, what about that? I mean, it's when you talk about like, obviously awareness is half the battle, right? So just being aware that fear is a sensation in the body that we're afraid of, right? So like there's theories and there's some research to back this up, but doing things like taking cold showers in the morning and just forcing yourself to do something that gives you an unpleasant physical sensation that you choose to experience every day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know that's helped me. I mean, it's so I've been doing that since a little bit before the start of the year. So every morning I start off and just, essentially just torture myself for a minute and a half or 2 minutes at the beginning of the morning with a cold shower. It's horribly miserable. I have to fight my brain and my body every single stinking day.
You're making me cold. Just thinking about it.
Oh, it's awful. It's so bad.
Why don't we start off something easier, like just not let you have coffee? Okay, that's a good idea.
Well, that's not good for the human race. So, I mean, I do have to consider others in this arrangement, but I do find myself thinking, like you think about that sensation of fear where you get that rush of, like all the hormones and you get like the shakes or you get cold or whatever the case is when you're afraid. And I do find myself going, well, it can't possibly be as bad as the cold shower I took this morning. Like that is the most horrible, like one of the most horrible physical sensations. So just being aware of the physical sensation makes a lot of difference. But so you be in the moment, you experience it, and then let's go over the next couple of steps and how you can release it and get over it and overcome the fear. Because I think that's where people get tripped up is, yes, they recognize that it's fear. Intellectually, we recognize that it's just, false evidence appearing real. Like most likely the negative that I think is going to happen is not going to happen. And people understand that, but they still can't get over it. So how do you experience it, and how do you still get yourself to take action?
Okay, great. And I'm glad you mentioned false evidence appearing real from Zig Ziglar. And that's one of the questions I always ask is, well, what's the evidence for that thought? What's the evidence for that statement? And so going back to being in the moment and then thinking through the moment, I'm going to give you a quick little example, which is real because it happened to me. And so it's even when someone like me who knows what I know, sometimes I still make the choices that don't get me where I want to go. And so how when you go to the DoubleTree and you check in, and what do they always have right at the front desk?
Mints.
Hot chocolate
Is it cookies?
Is it cookies? Yeah, hot chocolate chip cookies.
Of course, I would remember that.
Yeah, of course. Cookie monster.
And so quite honestly, I have to watch my blood sugar, and I love chocolate chip cookies, and so normally I don't have any problem with saying, okay, I'm not going to go there because I know how I feel if I do it. But there I am, and I'm checking in, and I thought, nope, I've got work to do, and so I thought through the moment. I thought I've got work to do. There's a couple projects I need to work on tonight, and if I eat those chocolate chip cookies, it will feel great in the moment, but then I'm going to have that sugar high and then that sugar low. And then I'm going to be disrupted, I know, for the next hour and a half. And it's an hour and a half of my time. And so I thought, nope, not going to do it. Then I had to go back and get something else. My card wasn't working or something. And by that time, I was getting very hungry and my willpower wore down. And so true to form, I took the cookie, not one, but two. And had that sugar high and then that sugar low, and then I was beating myself up the rest of the night for not getting the work done that I wanted to do. And
That's
so,
funny.
but normally I can get through that and say, okay, now think through the moment. I want to be able to get this done. I want to be able to go to bed, say I got it done, I was successful, and I want to feel good tonight. I don't want to go up and down like that. And so that's just an example of being in the moment, weighing your options and thinking through the moment. And I have to remind myself from Dr. Phil, how's it working for you? Not.
How's that working out for you?
Yeah. So, but that's, again, ask yourself, what's the evidence for not going there? And again, how do I want to feel on the other side? What kind of feeling do I want to create for myself? And how do I want to feel about myself? And again, sometimes we succumb to the moment and we still do what we shouldn't do. But it is a great way of shifting the mind, because I like your three questions, Greg. I would add to that a couple of things I encourage people to do is sort of develop a mantra that they say to themselves every day. And I know for mine, because I had gone through some financial distress after the recession, had lost some family members due to health. And so you too, okay.
Oh, hey, I know the feeling.
Okay. So I would actually go on my morning walks and say, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy, and I'm wise. I'm healthy, I'm wealthy, and I'm wise. And just by saying that, you can feel your brainwave patterns shift and take you out of that.
You know, one of the Marines' old mantras is one that cracks me up. Since you're on Coronado, I'll repeat it for you. I'm looking good. I'm feeling good. I ought to be in Hollywood. You know. And I know sometimes when I'm having a shit day, dude, I'll do that thing. I'll just, bounce through my house like an idiot. I'm looking good, feeling good, ought to be in Hollywood. And, dude, I feel better after I do it. It really does. It changes your state of mind. If you allow it to change your state of mind and just enjoy the moment. I always think back, like, if you have one problem, there is someone that would love to have your problem because they got a problem that's way bigger. And you've got to understand how good you really have it. Dude, we are all functioning human beings in a free, society where we can interact on a internet for free at no cost and spread our ideas and thoughts. There are countries you'd get killed for this action just one time. Matt and I do it 3 times a week. We'd be dead so many times over. I mean, having the ability to walk down the street. Think about the time when you broke an ankle and you couldn't walk anymore. How much did that suck? How much did you not want to have the broken ankle? Then when you got the broken ankle healed, you didn't want to go back to the gym, get your fat ass back in shape because you had a broken ankle. You know what? And then you're like, oh gosh, I wish I could do this, this, or this. Just keep in mind your current reality is someone's dream, and you've got to always think about that.
And there's one thing I wanted you to cover real quick, Greg, because Debra, you mentioned a mantra, right? And it reminded me, Greg, of your dad telling you that before he would go out, he had like a saying that he would remind himself of. Because, Debra, I think people get a lot of the fear that comes from, especially the sales process, whether it's picking up the phone for a sales call or going on a sales appointment, is I think a lot of the fear comes from us feeling like we are not providing value or we are an imposition on their time. And Greg, your dad had like this amazing perspective on it. So I want you to share that real quick before we dive into some other things.
So what he did, guys, he had it really shitty when he started doing real estate. Let's be real clear. We have the internet, we have smartphones, we have live camera, live video. I mean, we could do anything, right? He started his career in Boulder, Colorado, flat ass broke, without a pot to piss in. He and my mom were sharing this tiny little duplex thing they lived in. He would go out, we called it the clown suit because it didn't fit him so well because he didn't have any money. He just had to borrow $50 from my dad, my mom's dad, to take his new wife, my dad, her father, to let my dad take her on a honeymoon. Awkward. But he would go out and he would say things like this. You know what? Everybody likes me. They just don't know me. He'd say that to himself. He also would say, I have the cure for polio, and these people are sick. I'm here to help. I'm here to bring them medicine. And if you think about it, if you work with a dipshit agent, that is a cancer. That is a sickness and a disease. But if you work with a good agent like you are as a human being for watching this podcast, interacting, with education and becoming better, you got the cure to polio, man. My dad said polio because his brother had polio. It could be cancer. It could be something. It could be whatever relates back to you. You got the cure, man. You are the cure. Yeah. You got to believe it.
Yeah. And with that, Greg, I would add, in particularly, for our listeners like you in real estate, like someone like me, I know my stuff, but if I go buy a house or want to sell a house, I don't know anything about that. So
I can help you with this.
Well, thank you. And so the thing is that, whatever you do, you have expertise in that. Yeah. You know something more than somebody else, but there's always going to be somebody who knows more than you. That's the beauty of human beings. We continue to learn.
It's so thank you for bringing that up, because you just touched on something that you don't know you touched on that I teach on all the time. I call it finding your superpower, finding that thing that you're uniquely good at. I don't know much about you, but I like you a lot, Doc. And I know that you're really good at some really cool stuff. And you're like, 2 thumbs up for this girl. But I know I would, if I was doing a coaching call with you, I would dig down on you and I would figure out what that thing that you're really good at before you got into real estate. Well, all of a sudden you're a doctor and you have all these amazing skills. Great. Now let's set up an opportunity to showcase those skills, but then preface it with, hey, my name's Debra. I'm with such and such brokers in such and such city. Today we're going to talk about blah, blah, blah. right? You bring value in certain ways, but you begin it and end it with telling them that you do real estate. And people have got to understand that they shouldn't wait for everything to be absolutely perfect. There will never be a perfect time, ever. The perfect time is right now. That's why they call it the present, because it is a present to be here. A lot of people never woke up this morning, or going to be killed this evening in a car accident or a bus accident or a plane. That shit sucks. So start taking advantage of your present time and start bringing the value that you have within here and here to the general public, because there's someone out there that desperately needs to learn whatever you got inside, and then we'll have a bond to you, and we'll want to repay that favor and do something good for you. You got to stop looking to have all the answers. Just get out there and go do something for freaking sake.
Yeah, and if you're learning, share what you're learning. That's a great way to. That's a great way to have what would you say? An excuse to broadcast live or to blog or to write, whatever the case is. If you don't feel like you're the expert, great. Be the student that shares. It doesn't take much. I mean, I had to get over that too. So I'm curious. Getting back to the persuasion aspect, you very briefly touched on it, but now I want to go deeper on it. You mentioned the phrase positive persuasion, and that's, I would assume, a very strategic phrase for a reason, because I think a lot of people do have, and a lot of people that get into sales, even though they get into sales, they have the wrong perception about sales, which is that sales is persuading somebody to do something that they would not otherwise do, that may not be in their best interest, just so you get a paycheck. And I think that's really where the majority of people who have a bad taste in their mouth about sales, it's because they have that mental link. So share with me a little bit and with the audience, like what you mean by positive persuasion.
Okay, great. Thanks. Yes. For me, it's not just powerful persuasion, but being powerfully persuasive and influential. And, like you already said, Nat, is that, many people think about sales as then persuading somebody to do something that they may or may not want to do. But again, if you going back to the DISC assessment, and I've been working with communication styles for, many years, and have used it in the work I do with people all the time. I'm actually a mediator too, and so I was puzzled as to why are these people, who basically do agree on the outcome, getting into conflict. And that's where I realized it was around all these styles. But by using the styles that we learn about, then again, you begin to understand where that person is coming from. You know what they're looking for. You know the words that they use. And when you can, in turn, not mirror the words, but use their words with some of your questioning, then they will feel like they've really connected with you, and they're more likely to do business with you if they like you. And so that's where we can be powerfully persuasive. So it really does embody this whole strategy of knowing thyself, knowing others, and then how do you manage that relationship. So it really encompasses, the DISC assessment, but also really developing your emotional intelligence as well.
That's fascinating. One of the things that I want to go back to Chris Voss here a second ago, for another second. Exactly what you just said, Doc, is what he says to do when you're in a negotiation. Is the tactic where you can you say back to the other individual either the last two words or the last word of what they just said, and then go silent, because it's relating back to them. And it's validating them, which makes them feel like gives them a false sense of security, as if they are in control of the conversation.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
But you can use it for very positive stuff.
Oh, yeah. And so, I like to draw on Stephen Covey's work too. He always says you got to give to get back. And I like to add to that, and you better watch what you give, because you might just get it back.
Yeah, Greg.
Shut up, Matt.
If you give nothing but sarcasm, you're going to get sarcasm right back.
That's fine. I can take sarcasm. I have no problem with that. I do believe the pot is going the kettle black on this one.
That's true. That's a great point, though.
Yeah, but with that, positive persuasion too. It really, I like to say we all hear, right? But hearing is really the act of sound. But do we really listen? And active listening, deep listening, really means what I call diving below the water line. And it really, so here's an acronym I like to share with people of listening for the sounds of the beach. And so what beach stands for is what beliefs do they have? What expectations? What assumptions or attitudes might exist? What concerns or challenges? And then what hopes? And by listening for that, rather than just the words that they say, you and then restating what you hear, you're pulling out, and people go, "Wow, you totally got me there." You really understand me. And so yes, paraphrasing, pausing are critical steps to good communication strategies. So that's another thing that people, again, not just understanding your styles, but how do you come across? Are you talking in a way that people can actually continue to listen to you, or are you saying things in a way that are actually causing them to shut down? And again, watch the eyes. So fun little tip here. I want you to write down the word listen, Listen.
Okay.
And then underneath that, I want you to write the word silent. And what do you notice about those two words?
I probably didn't spell the second one right.
That's
Okay.
what I was gonna say. If you rearrange the letters of silent, you get Greg. No, it's if you rearrange the letters, listen and silent has the exact same letters in it. I did not notice that.
Yep,
So it's the mirror image, yeah.
Yep. So to listen, you have to be silent. And too often we jump in to fill that dead space. And actually being silent after someone said something or you paraphrase helps give them time to process.
And that is so true. Yeah. And I've heard people say it in sales situations as a specific tactic, but it's also just true in a general sense. I mean, we think of, and a lot of people tend to think of salesmen this way, as someone that is a slick communicator, someone that is better at speaking than somebody else. But like things have shifted, and that may have been true in the past, and I don't think it was ever really true, but I think you could probably get away with it. Maybe in the 80s when there wasn't, your goal was to just get on the phone with as many people, disqualify the ones that weren't doing anything right now, and then let's get an appointment with somebody that wants to do something. And sometimes it did give the impression that those that are the best and the slickest communicators would win. But now we've completely shifted, and people are coming to us, and it's much more of a consulting type of industry. And we've talked about this several times on the show before, but a consulting approach is a active listening based approach. It's very questions based. It's very investigative in terms of figuring out, what do you want? Why is that important to you? What does that mean for you? What will that do for you? And just asking those series of questions and really deeply listening. I think one of the things we have a hard time doing is when we ask a question and we don't get an immediate response, is not following up and jumping in and filling that awkward silence with something.
Right.
Right.
I've done it a lot. My dad did it to me a lot when I was growing up. He would use silence as the ultimate negotiating tool. Because your body, what is it? Your body can go 2 weeks without water. What is it? 2 weeks without food and like a week without water or something like that.
3 days without. Yeah.
3 days without water, 2 weeks without food, but your brain can only go 36 seconds without literally freaking out and having to have something to say or do. So when silence kicks in, it might be awkward for you, but it's also extremely awkward for the other person. They will, guarantee you, they will start talking before you do. Because if you know what you're fighting against and you can go in with it, it's great for personal relationships and it's great for business relationships. Ask a probing question. And then shut up. And just wait for them to start squirming, and they will answer their own question. They will start talking because it's so freaking awkward. They're going to go, "Oh, okay, I give in. Okay," and they'll blurt it out. Yeah. But so many people won't do that.
Right. Well, that becomes critically important too when you go back to the DISC assessment, because the S and the C's again are slower to respond. They're slower to process. And so if you jump in too fast, you're going to lose them because they're going to disengage from you.
They're going to feel like you're not listening or paying attention. They're very disrespected. Yeah.
That's really good. Wait, hold on. Can you go, Deborah? Can you go back one more time and go over slowly what the beach analogy was? I thought that was so good, and I want to make sure people that really resonates with them.
Sure, yeah. Well, first of all, if you think about like an iceberg, we just see the tip of the iceberg, right? And a lot of people tend to react to what's being said, what they see, and how people are behaving. And they seldom take the time to develop their skills and awareness to go below the waterline to that bigger part of the iceberg that we can't see. And so that's where I call it diving deeper into discovery by listening to the sounds of the beach. And so the beach stands for beliefs, expectations, assumptions or attitudes, concerns or challenges, and hopes.
I'm
Now,
frantically writing.
oh,
I know.
okay,
I'm putting this in the group for everyone.
Yeah.
Beliefs,
great.
expectations, assumptions, concerns, hopes as a quick acronym.
Yeah. So do you
Very
want to
good.
know 3 other things to listen for?
Yes.
Yes.
It's called the FIVMs, and that's what fears are they expressing,
Okay.
what values are they stating, and what needs do they have?
Do you have this like on a PDF or something?
I do.
I figured you would. No,
All
these
right.
are phenomenal though.
Where can we grab that off of your website, Deborah?
Well, if people want to go ahead and contact me, I'd be happy to send it out as a free gift for our listeners today.
That's awesome. Okay. So before we wrap up, I have a selfish question for you, Deborah. So we are doing, so me and Greg are doing like live classes, right? So we're bringing in, 10, 15, 20 agents or whatever into like this group environment, and we're teaching them how to make sales calls in a certain type of sales call. So in this case, it's circle prospecting, or usually around like a success story in a neighborhood, but that's beside the point. But in other words, we're trying to bring in people, and we're trying to get them through role playing, through practical training, but also through interaction and really one-on-one coaching in that group environment to help them make some changes and start doing something that they would not otherwise do if they were just left to their own devices. So I'm curious, like you've done all these kinds. I mean, you've done coaching, consulting, therapy, you've done one-on-one, you've done group. What do you feel like is the best format where people are actually encouraged, motivated, inspired to create real change in their life? What do you see as just the most effective?
Well, every person, it can be different, but I think, again, one of the things would be to understand their needs and what's not working for them. So that's, again, I always ask the question, what's working for you, what's not working for you?
Okay.
And by really identifying what's not working, well, first of all, what's working for you, keep on doing it and do it even more. And then what's not working for you, now that's an opportunity. That's an opportunity to learn from others who don't have that challenge. And that's where coming together in a group like what you're doing allows people to learn from each other as well as learn from masters like yourself.
Man, don't let that go to your head.
Oh, yeah, she mistakenly lumped me in with you. I'm definitely not a cold calling master by any stretch of the imagination. But one thing I've noticed about myself that I think a lot of agents lack, and this may be the musician part of me, long ago in the distant mist of time when I was a kid, I was very good at imitating. So like I realized that I was good at hearing something and imitating it, and that extended into the ability to hear someone and the way that they phrase things and imitate their phrasing, their tonality, like everything. And one thing that I've noticed about trying to teach someone how to sell better, how to communicate better, whatever you want to call it, is that so many people lack the awareness of what they sound like to other people. And when somebody tries to come along and say, hey, no, do it more like this, where the tonality is like this, and like exaggerate your tonality or whatever the case is, they'll repeat it back and it'll be like this, and it'll be very monotone, and they won't even realize it, and they don't realize they're not smiling with their eyes, and they're just kind of being very monotone. I know it's a very accurate, lifelike reenactment, sadly. But how do you coach someone that just they simply don't have that like self-awareness of the impression they're leaving on other people, and they don't have that innate ability to imitate to where they can kind of feel it and get that sensation of what it feels like to do something correctly? Have you ever run across that?
Yeah, it's interesting. Earlier in my career, I was actually a career counselor. And so one of the things that I did was I worked with people on their job interviewing skills.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah. And so there was one particular client I was working with who I already knew she was pretty timid, pretty shy. And I'm thinking, oh my God, how am I going to tell her, some of these things she needs to work on, because her self-esteem was already so low. And so I decided to videotape her. And I said, this is something I always do. And so then you can have a chance to see how you look and sound and decide what you want to improve upon. And she was somebody who would look down at the floor when you were talking. No, I can't remember how it was, but anyway, eye contact was totally gone, depending on who was talking. And so she only got a few seconds into the video, and she realized what she was doing. She was, oh my gosh, I have to change that. And so from there we were able to, because I said, well, would you hire this person? She goes, no, oh my gosh, And so the use of audio, the use of video are great ways for people to self-evaluate. Would you buy from this person? Is this person approachable? What is the quality of their voice? And sometimes people do need to work on their tonal quality because of the way they do come across.
Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think, then correct me if I'm wrong, is that I think a lot of people have negative mindsets and negative connotations of themselves, negative input from the past, and then they keep compounding upon that in every aspect of life, and they never understand the value that they have. That's why I'm guessing here, that's why people look down at their feet. They don't think they have value. They get told by a friend or family member, sadly it's usually one of a close friend or family member, that will knock you down. Because they don't want you to outshine them, therefore they talk negatively about you, then your self-worth plummets, and then the whole horrible circle continues. What is something that someone can do on a daily basis to eradicate that, starting right now? Maybe a little mantra that you're talking about, like looking good, feeling good, ought to be in Hollywood. Is there something that people can jumpstart their mental mindset with?
Good question. I guess it sort of goes back to something I said earlier in the show, in that, and you touched on it too, Greg, is that sometimes we have these mindsets that have evolved, and sometimes we don't even know where it got started, and yet we can see where we're limited, in terms of how successful we are, how much money we make, how high we rise in the organization. And so it does go back to usually patterns of behavior we've encountered when we were much younger, and that they become patterns of behavior, neurologically patterned in ways we don't even know it. I mean, we probably all have heard someone or ourselves say, like, oh my God, I sounded just like my mother, or I sounded just like my dad when I said that, right?
Yeah, sadly enough, yes.
Both of us, I was going to say, I can say that about our dads for sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
See, so those things carry through with us. And I know it happened to myself too. When my daughter was in high school, I was behaving in a way my mom did, and I didn't like that. It was like, oh my gosh, I have to change that. And again, it goes back to that question, is what you're doing getting you where you want to go? Yeah. And at least for my daughter, I was not having the kind of close relationship I wanted, and I realized I had to change my behavior. And so it can be applied to business too, is that it is what I'm doing, is how I'm conducting myself, is how I'm coming across to people, getting me what I want to achieve, what I want to accomplish. And so that's where, sort of a daily, what is it I want to accomplish today? What do I need to do that? And how am I going to go about doing that? So actually having sort of a daily plan of action for, setting your goals and what you want to accomplish in any given day is really huge. Because when we have that plan, it's like driving down the road without a map or an idea of where you're going. You can keep on driving forever. But if you have a destination, if you have some things that you want to do along the way, then you've got a map. And you can say, okay, this is what, again, going back to some of Cubby's stuff on time management, is develop a list. To identify what's urgent and important, what's urgent but not important, what's not urgent but important, and what's not urgent and not important. And that way you can sort of prioritize your day and really accomplish what you need to accomplish. And you stay better on track with what you want to get done.
Yeah, it's really true. I do it on a daily basis. Brian Tracy, eat that frog. I get up right out what that big, hairy, ugly, nasty thing is that I got to do. And then I get into doing some meridian tapping, energy clearing, and getting my day started off on the right foot, really making that a priority. Every day that I do that, my day is absolutely incredible. Like today, I did 3 tapping modalities, one on getting more clients, having an amazing day, and being a money magnet. I got a text for a Facebook message today. One of the viewers of the show contacted me. He's like, hey, Greg, I want you to co-list with me 3 $1.5 million homes that are brand new construction in Berkeley. Okay. that would classify as an amazing day.
Yes, yes.
But setting up the priority, allow yourself the permission to have an amazing day, to be okay to get that listing, it's okay to be a successful person. Because so many people, if you're not the struggling person, if you're not the person that's working on him or herself, if you're not, the person that's going to be an up and comer, if you're not that person, who are you? What's your reality? What's your identity? And that scares a lot of people to get out of that role and stay, treading water in that role. Therefore, they never move forward. They don't move forward. Then they feel themselves as a failure. Then the whole circle of negativity cycles back all the way through.
Yep.
Matt, we're trying to get like 10,000 gallons of knowledge out of someone we only can spend an hour with. This is so unfair to us. I mean,
it is. It really is unfair. I think we drew on the fire hose a little bit, but so I wanted to point out a couple of things. Number one, so I just put Debra's website link in the Facebook comments below here. So it's relationships-at-work.com. So relationships-at-work.com with the hyphens. And then we also talked about the beach and the fins. All that is in the Facebook comments below, guys. And then Walter has a pro tip for us, going back to our cookie conversation. He says, don't stop eating them. No crash. I love that. Constantly. That was a great, that is a seriously pro tip, Walter. I love it. And then Robert says, being a therapist coming into this conversation makes me feel a lot more comfortable getting into the real estate field now with these types of conversations and presentations. So glad this was helpful. So Debra, there's somebody out there that is in your field that's getting into real estate. I would say they're more than well equipped with that kind of background, because that's exactly what a real estate agent is. It's about 10% technical expertise and about 90% being somebody's life therapist.
Oh God, yes. Oh my God, yes. Oh, Robert, you don't know it, my friend, but you have like the tactical nuclear button hidden in your briefcase, and you can deploy it at any time and just destroy the other real estate agents. You're like, tell me about the problem one more time. On the chase, please. And gotcha. Therapy session and a listing agreement. Bonus.
There you go. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
What
So
would your life
everybody
be
should
different?
Yeah. All right. So besides going to the website, everybody should connect with you, Debra, on both Facebook and Facebook, LinkedIn, and you're on Twitter as well. So Dr. Debra Dupree. So I wanted to point that out real quick. So hopefully people do connect with you. You mentioned the PDF that you're more than willing to send, so people can reach out to you through any of those methods, and you will pass that along. Greg, would you like to very quickly share on Rockstar Prospecting, which I alluded to earlier?
Yeah, it's fucking rocking, awesome. You guys got to sign up. End of story. Boom, dumb, drop mic. No, you guys, we work on tonality, work on scripts, we worked on techniques, we work on mindset, we work on a ton of different things. We had some really good calls today. What we did with our guys, we really kind of got that tonality change. We had one of our guys just rock star. He went from like, hi, to like, hey, what's up? And it was really cool to see him make that transformation. Guys, it's only $297. It's one time. Unless you want to keep paying it monthly, it's okay with us if you do that too. But it is only a one-time fee for $297. You guys are going to get 4 sessions with both me and Matt, live interaction with us. You're going to get the recordings of those sessions. You can put them away into your library, and if you pull them out, if you guys need some additional help or a reminder about something or anything else. But if this is something you want to do, if you want to do circle prospecting, then might as well do it like a rock star. And you might as well do it, don't take the 18 years I had to take to learn how to do everything. Just learn from what Matt and I, our experiences have been, and then you'll hopefully put more money into your account faster. A lot of our guys are they are getting listing appointments, they're filling their funnels, they're really finding out value.
Yeah, I mean, this is really the key skill set, number one, behind your business, Greg, and just behind, if you want to build your database at all, and you actually want to go specifically after the exact neighborhoods that you want to work in, this is the essential skill, the ability to just pick up the phone, call people in the area that you want to work in, quickly ask them if they're looking to make a move in real estate anytime soon, and if not, you get their email address and you put them into your database and you start keeping in touch with them and you play the long game. So, I mean, this is circle prospecting is the key, that if you want relatively now business in terms of listings, and if you want to build your database over time, this is the key skill. So guys, go to rockstarprospecting.com. With that said, Greg, obviously people can follow you on Facebook and on Instagram. Same thing for me. I am pursuing results across all platforms. Greg, you can be most easily found by searching for Greg McDaniel. And then on Instagram, you're McDanielCallahan.realestate. Anything else you want to throw on before you put a nice little ribbon around this one?
Yeah, guys, I just put the link in for Rockstar Prospecting. Please follow me. Don't friend me. Please follow me on Facebook, and we can become besties. But besides that, you guys ready to rock? Doc, you rock. Unbelievably good content, and we would be honored and humbled if you would come back and grace us with your presence again and dump more of that phenomenal knowledge onto all of our starving brains. If that
Great.
would be okay.
Thank you. This was fun. This was really a lot of fun. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys, Matt and I, we love you to pieces. We truly want to see you succeed. That's why we have unbelievable guests like, the good doctor come onto the show. We're going to keep having a lot more. Matt, who do we have coming down?
Oh, man. Legendary Chris Lochhead. He is a former three-time CMO. He has exited in Silicon Valley not once, not twice, 3 times. He is retired at 49. He is. I just launched a podcast for him. I'm doing the back-end production for them. His podcast is called Legends and Losers, and we're going to be talking all about how to design a legendary life and how to design a category that you can own and dominate in your business. It's going to be ridiculously good. This guy is top level. I mean, this is Jay Samit level stuff we're going to be talking about. So that's Wednesday, guys. So that's 3 p.m. on Wednesday. Be there or be left out.
Or just don't be there. He has a book called Play Bigger, which I'm reading right now. Matt, excellent recommendation. I'm learning so much from this book. Go check it out. You will change your life. Usually I say that when I'm joking, but I'm really not joking this time.
I know.
All right, guys. Love you to pieces. See you on Wednesday. Till then, peace out, ninjas.